Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another round of Property Pro Tips straight from the pros. I'm your host, Trevor Henson, and today I have the luxury and pleasure of having Mr. Matt Service from the Apartment List, the COO of the Apartment List, join us on our podcast. Welcome, Matt. How you doing, man?
Doing great, Trevor. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being on the show, sir. Matt has one of the most impressive biographies I've yet to read here on the show, and I'm just going to read it in because I try to ad-lib this, I'll mess it up bad. So, here we go. Matt Service is a seasoned senior executive known for his results-driven leadership and financial acumen. As a COO of Apartment List, the fastest-growing rental marketplace in the U.S., by the way, Matt has spearheaded major initiatives, including the acquisition and integration of AI company Differ.Rent. Under his leadership, Apartment List raised $60 million in Series D funding in 2020. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
Prior to this, Matt held pivotal roles at Tapjoy and BlinkX PLC,
Blinks.
where he Blinks PLC, where he drove significant growth and innovation. A UCLA graduate, unfortunately, right on. Matt enjoys spending time with his family and outdoor activities like skiing and mountain biking, while he ruminates and regrets his time at UCLA because he should have been at USC, the better school. Right on, Trojan. Welcome, Matt.
Thanks, Trevor. Thanks for having me.
You had to come in, one Trojan to the Druid.
Yeah.
The rivalry never dies. Let's just dive in right in. Tell me, Matt, what initially led you to pursue a career in your current position, and what specifically drew you to your role at Apartment List?
Yeah, so I started working with, I'd say, growth technology-based companies when I got out of consulting about 18 years ago. And when I was looking for a new gig, there was kind of three main criteria I had. The first was I was looking for a company in a space that had an opportunity to disrupt and differentiate and have that translate into growth. I spent, prior to Apartment List, I was really working in consumer internet and primarily ad tech, really hard to differentiate and create competitive moats there. And so I was really looking to make a change there while, if possible, be able to leverage some of my consumer internet experience. The second thing I was really looking for was stage of company. My first company, Blinks, I was employee 22, zero revenue, standing start. Tapjoy was kind of at the other end of the spectrum, hundreds of millions in revenue, kind of looking for its second act of growth. And so I really was looking for something kind of right in the middle, something that had product market fit, and was really looking to grow and scale its business, which was really, I think, something I was looking for in kind of the sweet spot after kind of experiencing both ends of the spectrum. And then the third thing is just an opportunity to be part of a strong executive team. That wasn't always the case, and it was something I was really kind of looking for. And as you go on in your career, they say life's too short, so you may as well work with people you like and respect along the
100%.
way. So those were the three criteria, and 5.5, 6 years later, all those things are still true.
Very intentional of you, Matt. How you took one side of the startup and then the other side of the other end of the startup, which is either second phase or exit. And you're like, I've been here, and now let's find the middle. And that's a hard place to find. Like, even just kind of figuring out if a company's in the middle of what stage it's in is impressive that you actually found that and then were able to get into it. That's some very well planned intention, I should say, man. I would say I would fail 20 times trying to find the company to land at like that.
Yeah, thank you. Intentional is something I say multiple times a week. I think it's pretty important, with just my general philosophy with how I run a business and I guess approach my professional career.
It shows in your very first answer. I can see it, and then that must make you an amazing COO. I can see why that's there, because that's exactly what I want my COO doing. because that's not me. I can't think like that. I'm kind of up here running
Yeah.
around.
Different kind of skill set you want in your
Different skill
marketing
set.
person versus your operations leader.
And you definitely want them to be different because you don't want the two like being the same at all. Because they're just different personality types, even like on Myers-Briggs.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's kind of going back to what I was talking about, being part of a strong executive team, right? Multifaceted, complementing each other, different skill
Right.
sets. I think that's really what I think of, when in addition to working with people you respect and like.
And it makes it so much easier to go to work. Work doesn't become work, right? It just
Yeah.
makes it a lot more fun. Love the
Yep.
people you work with. I completely understand. And so, given that apartment list is a tool widely used in the property management space, how do you see it evolving to better serve property managers and owners, especially in terms of streamlining operations and improving tenant experiences in the future?
Yeah. I mean, increasingly, I think we want to think of ourselves as a platform and really look to deliver as much value as possible to our partners. Really, it's all about value delivery and thinking about what are the different surface areas and ways that we can increase that. I think what we've done with Leah Pro, our AI product, is a great example. So just quickly, Leah Pro is the new version of our AI product that we released late in Q1. It's 100% generative AI powered, really delivers step change in terms of conversation quality and comprehension and renter experiences. It integrates with a property manager like yourselves, PMS, works leads from all sources. The capability that it introduces, proactive selling. And so really proactively reaching out to renters, kind of overcoming objections, figuring out what's important to them and selling through the property, in addition to answering basic questions and booking tours. And so what that translates through to is property managers can really focus more on the bottom of the funnel, work their leads more efficiently, and ultimately provide better renter experiences. And so what we did in Q2 is basically that Leah Pro would be free if your property was listed on Apartment List. And so, as you're probably aware, if you're purchasing a standalone AI product that usually runs you anywhere from probably $1 to $2 per unit per month, and we're offering that for free if your property is listed on Apartment List. And again, just really upping the value delivery and that's kind of conception, and looking to make our entire platform more sticky through value delivery. And I think there's a lot more we can do on the AI front and in general to kind of increase that value delivery. But that's philosophically what we think about.
And just to throw my 2 cents in there, we use your product, and we've been testing it for the last almost a year on a couple of our lease ups, and let's just say it does way more than you expect it would. It's not fake AI. It's true AI. A lot of companies tout AI, and it's just some jumped up machine learning or automation. There's no LLM behind it. And I believe, from what I understand in my talks with your folks at the last AIM conference, you guys have built your own LLM from beginning. That's what Different was before your acquisition, and that's why you bought them. Do I understand that correctly?
Yeah, it's kind of a combination of technologies. So it actually sits on top of the Chat GPT's LLM, but we sort of put our own layer that introduces the property specific information and a lot of prompt engineering into kind of managing it and delivering the results. But thank you for saying that. I mean, our focus is it's got to be great, right? It's got to deliver at the end of the day a solid renter experience, because it's really representing you and your brand as a property manager to your renters. And so ultimately, it's got to be great, or it just won't work. And that's the philosophy. And we've spent a lot of resources into that, and we're still working on it. There's a lot more we can do.
I think you guys are just scratching the surface, but the surface scratch is substantial. Just from what I've seen in just the limited tests we've gone, when it comes to just the fact that it can answer unlimited amount of phone calls is truly amazing. And I'm surprised more owners haven't gotten on board with this. I don't, we're moving as fast as we can to implement such things. It's like, it's going to change everything eventually.
I couldn't agree more, and I appreciate you saying nice things about the product, and I'm glad that it's delivered. That's exactly what we're going for. So really glad to hear that, and again,
welcome.
Thank you for your partnership. We're happy to be working with you, and again, it's all about value delivery. And I think if we're delivering great renter experiences, then there's a lot of synergies that kind of result from that in terms of the working relationship and partnership. And that's philosophically kind of how I think about it and what we're all about.
And it's been, like I said, I wouldn't mention anything if we had not been using it for like I think the last year or so, on just kind of testing it on as we get new lease ups. And it's been a game changer when it comes to especially a product launch of 69 vacant units. And when you turn that advertising on, you get 69 phone calls in 1 minute. Who's going to answer all those? It doesn't matter how many call centers you have. You're not going to be able to get those fielded unless you have some kind of AI properly installed, real AI.
Yeah,
so I'm a big tech fan, as you can see, an AI supporter. I'm going to ride this bomb until they take over and then become our overlords and whatever. But
they're
going to be useful for a while.
Yeah. I mean, I very much think of it the same way. And the phone calls specifically and the voice capabilities, I think is a great part of the value proposition. So glad that's translating for on your front as well for those lease ups.
Absolutely. So you've been involved with insignificant acquisitions based on your bio. And one of them, which was the different acquisition of the AI with differ.rent company acquisition, which was the AI tech for apartment list, correct? How did you approach the street? How did you approach that? How did that come around? And how did you guys even decide that AI was the time to do this? Because you were an advertising platform to start with, right?
We were. We first started looking into AI and its applications in our space in early 2021, and quickly became quite excited by the potential and decided that it was an area we wanted to and frankly needed to invest in. And so really what we then went about doing is undertaking a significant amount of research to kind of understand the landscape, the technology and the players. And what we kind of went through is a buy versus build decision. Did we want to build it from scratch, or it was still pretty early days in those, or was there a company that we could partner with? And we met the different founders, and they were pretty early. So like, I think the best way to think of it is it was an AI starter kit and also a starter kit in terms of AI talent for the team. They were super early, Israeli-based startup, and we got to know them. Really liked what we saw. In terms of their everything really, but most importantly, just sort of a shared vision and goals of what we were shooting for, and ultimately made the decision to acquire them back in late 2021, and have kind of been working on building out Leah Pro, or it was originally Leah back then. Since then, launched it in 2022, and have been building that team out there in Tel Aviv, which has been great for us, just from an access to talent and kind of then apartmentless, focusing on that. And so that's kind of the short story. I think, for me, that one of the things that actually I'm very proud of, and, I would highlight is, that the acquisition's kind of only half the battle. Like the integration of your acquisition is actually way trickier. Maybe it's even less than half the battle. And actually, I think
agree.
really where success is defined, right, and measured is how successful is the acquisition, is the integration, particularly when you're talking about apartment lists. Not that we're huge, but we were significantly bigger and more mature than Different was at the time, and
Right.
really, having a strong partnership with the founders and really working through that, and making sure there was great communication and shared vision, and super proud today to kind of look back almost 2.5 years later, and zero regretted attrition out of that team. Both of the founders are still with the business, leading our AI initiatives, and so I think something I'm very proud of, from just looking at how some acquisitions go, and I think has delivered a ton of value for Apartment List, and again, part of that transformation into a platform and a technology company provider more than just an advertising source.
Very, very well said. And I would agree with you, Matt. The acquisition, I think, is 25% of it. The integration is that's the rubber hits the road part. The culture fit, where everyone goes and what they do, and dividing up the services, roles, all that, and then keeping it all together while it's running.
I think culture fit is really the thing, right? Shared goals, culture, completely. just aligned thinking, because those aren't things that you can really create. It was funny, this was, think about 2021, right? We were talking a little bit about before we got on.
So long ago. It seems so long ago. 3 years ago.
yeah. But so COVID was still in full swing, and so we had originally planned to travel to Tel Aviv for kind of the in-person due diligence and to meet the team and do all of that. And right before we were about to go, the restrictions changed. I think there was something like a 10-day quarantine for any travelers into Israel.
Wow.
And so we ended up figuring out that we could meet in Vancouver. So we all met in Vancouver and got a chance to meet in person. And I think, for me, the moment I remember, we were formally sitting across the table, asking and answering questions. And when we started talking about what a shared roadmap would look like, and really started to get down to the work product, like that was when like the magic started to happen. And I think we really knew that we were onto something in terms of, this team being really aligned philosophically and with the way we work. And that proved to be true. And I think was the core to kind of the integration and having that be successful.
It gave me chills just thinking about it. Like it's one of those feelings, right? When in the room kind of the air in the room changed, like, okay, we actually are on the same page, strangely. And you're kind of like, I feel you. That's definitely an intangible.
That's exactly what happened. Yep.
You go through the acquisition, and part of this is, I'm imagining, it is securing funding, right? Securing major funding is a critical milestone for any company, and especially in a growth-minded company. What strategies do you and your team believe are essential for successfully raising capital and attracting top investors?
Yeah, it's true. It's a priority, for any growth kind of startup company. You've got to be able to fund the growth and hit those milestones. What I think about, is actually more just kind of, it's kind of fundamentals, right? It kind of goes back to the intentionality, right? And of course, I think a lot depends on the stage of the business you're in, but Apartment List raised its Series D in 2020, late 2020, and we'd been around for a while, right? It's Series D, fourth round of funding, not counting the early stuff. And so for a scaled growth business like that, ultimately the financials and the business metrics are gonna tell the story, right? You can't wave your hands. It's just what the business is. So most first and foremost, you got to build a good, fundamentally sound business that you're taking out to investors, and I think that is number one. I think number two, what I think about is timing is also really, really important. You have to be able to obviously demonstrate strong performance, in your metrics, like we talked about. But like these fundraising processes typically take time. So you also need to be able to deliver on your forecast during the process, which demonstrates the command and control that investors want to see out of an executive, out of an executive or management team in a process. So that's really important too. The other thing I think about, right, which is a key component is the packaging of the business, right? The metrics and the financials are sort of the foundational raw material, but you've got to be able to package it up, and it's I think really, really critical to be able to look at the business through the eyes of a potential investor. So you can anticipate what will resonate with them in terms of how you tell the story. For us, it's how to tell the story of growth, and also what questions they might have, so you can proactively address them as you're putting together your investor presentation and your model. It's sort of like how do you present it? And because again, like for me, I'm in the business every day. Like I'm deep into all kinds of metrics and everything else. And like you've got to be able to like up level that and get it into, usually it's a 60-minute initial conversation where they're going to go away, right? And sometimes less, right? And decide if it's something that's interested. And then from there, it'll obviously progress in terms of peeling the layers of the onion and digging in. But that's really important. And finally, I would say just being well prepared is critical. There's obviously putting together a great investor presentation, a solid model, but there's also a lot of other just things like having a data room ready, knowing the diligence questions that are coming up, just so you're never on your heels and you're able to keep it going, because inevitably these processes usually end up taking longer than you think.
The roadshow, right?
A little bit.
Fabled roadshow.
Yeah, that's right. And so being in a position, to be able to move to the next stage and respond to a question, or, what that next stage is without any delay, I think is really important. And again, just goes back to that intentionality we talked about, right? Like these processes, in some ways are all unique, but in some ways are all the same. And so if you know what's going to happen, you may as well be ready for it, right? And really, ultimately, I think what you want at the end of the day is obviously a successful outcome. But on top of that, you want to look back and say, hey, I executed on that process, as well as I could have, and that translated into the good outcome. In
an industry who is very reactive and very hard to build processes around, just from my own personal experiences, by the way. So that's why it's like we tried to follow it as close as we can, because every situation seems to be unique. I've been doing property management to some extent, entrepreneurial property management for about 20 years, and there's still yet a day where I'm not asked a new question a different way somehow. So it's not a cookie cutter manufacturing company, right? We're dealing with humans and now AI, and that's all organic.
Yeah, 100%. The industry is constantly changing and evolving. Our business is constantly evolving and changing, and so definitely, that I think that has to be something you enjoy. I would say, versus something that's a burden. It's got to be fun, right? It's got to be. You gotta love it.
You have to love that. You have to love the chaos.
for sure.
Well, and that leads into my next question, because we're talking about continual change in the rental market, be it regulatory swings in just the market cycle, whatever it is. Real estate rules, especially in California, are on a continuum of change. in your view, what are the most important trends that companies in this space, in the property management or real estate rental space, what are the most important trends that companies like yours should be aware of, and how best you adapt?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, before we get to the trends, it's really about staying out in front of them and kind of predicting where they will go so you can skate to where the puck is. Again, things are changing so rapidly. You've got to be able to kind of pick a point and focus in the future where you think things are going to end up, and focus on that. I think, what I've found, and this is certainly something that is much more top of mind since the COVID whipsaw, is I start with kind of the fundamental macro kind of supply and demand metrics, and really look at what's happening with those and what I think is going to happen with those. And obviously, like, there was a crazy amount, like, in terms of the movement, both in terms of the size of the movement and also the speed of the movement, that really transpired, in COVID, but more importantly after COVID. It was like the tail kind of kept coming back, and
Right.
so, right, really keeping an eye on that, and asking yourselves, where's that going to be, next year and the following year, and how do you want to evolve your business to, again, provide value in the best way to our partners, based on what those trends are. I think, there's some pretty good kind of leading indicators from, like a supply perspective. Obviously, there's a lot of new construction coming on, and you've got a really pretty solid lead time to know what's happening there. I think demand's a lot more tricky. Kind of
Mm-hmm.
kind of getting predictors on that, and really understanding that. So there's a bit more art, I think, in terms of that. But that's kind of the first thing I go to when I think of trends. And then, like, as you reference, I think about and look at operating trends. I think, we've spent some time talking about AI. I think centralized leasing is another one. Maybe you were referencing this with the regulatory stuff, but one that I've been spending some time thinking about and focusing on is price transparency, and just some of the things that's happening there. I think that one's particularly interesting because, I think there's an opportunity to really do it well, that really, helps out, our supply side partners, but also can really deliver value to our renters. And we do think of ourselves as a two-sided marketplace, and so, that I think is an exciting opportunity to be able to really help out and deliver value kind of to both sides of our marketplace.
And that is a very interesting, and we're talking, I think you're referencing the Supreme Court case that came down about the price matrices, or I forget the exact term of it, but you go to a large REIT owned building and the price is good for 24 hours. And the next day it's 25 cents higher or dollar lower or something based on supply and demand. And that's what I think they were the court case was about. And now that seems to be changing. I think ANA is going back to fight it again, I believe, what I heard. But
yeah, I'm not as familiar with that one, but there's definitely some state laws where effectively you have to be able to clearly illustrate all of the additional fees, so you get to kind of a total
yes.
price of a lease that a consumer is going to go, and having transparency in those fees is really the push. And so there's
very similar.
Yeah, it is. And so, there's some states that are further along on that, and I think that's one of the challenges for, is all of these laws generally vary by state. So, like,
and then city by city.
yeah, is a big challenge.
Wow.
I think this one, is one that's going to continue to kind of expand, because I think it's good, right? It's good for the renter and the consumer, and ultimately, if the data is all there, right? So it's just a matter of being able to present it in a consistent manner to the renters, and if you get that, then you're going to have a better renter experience, because no one wants a renter to show up at a property and get excited about a unit and then kind of get the the cost to sign the lease and be like, what the heck?
Hey,
There's an
whoa.
extra there's an extra $500 here I didn't know about. Like that isn't going to work, right? That's not a good experience for anyone. So I think this one makes a lot of sense, and again, it's an area I think that's pretty interesting.
It is. And just one funny note on that. I saw a competitor charging like lease closing fees. I was like, that's a new one.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, it's like $50 so you could sign this, I guess, for the digital paper this is not on.
Yeah, I don't
Interesting.
think I don't think I've seen that one before, but yeah, I agree with the sentiment.
Yeah. Lease closing costs $50. I was like, okay. I'm not even looking into that. That sounds completely illegal.
Yeah.
And so, last question before we get into our rapid fire round here. Yeah, beyond your professional roles, you've also served on the board of trustees for a nonprofit organization. How has your involvement in philanthropy and community service influenced your overall approach to business and leadership?
Yeah, thanks for the question. Definitely, it's been an evolution for me over my career. But I think bottom line is it's shown me that there's an important place for it, regardless of the stage of your company. And in addition to just getting a lot of personal fulfillment out of giving back to the community. I think Homebridge Connect, which is a program we have at Apartment List, is a great example. It was actually a brainchild of John Cobbs, who was AL's founder, and I remember back in 2018 he came to me with this idea. I was CFO at the time, of working with our multifamily partners to help provide free temporary housing to victims of the Camp wildfire. I don't know if you remember that. The town of
Right, yeah,
Paradise got completely
yeah,
wiped out.
wiped out, right?
And we kind of talked about it, and it was like, wow, how this makes a ton of sense, but how will we find resources for that? Because we're strapped, earlier stage company. Ultimately, we decided we were uniquely positioned, right? Our job is matching, renters with supply. Why should this be any different? And we would just figure it out, and that's what we did. And
It's really
so
cool.
fast forwarding, almost 6 years later. And again, this is really with the help of our multifamily partners like yourselves, who are actually donating the rooms. We help get other partners to furnish them, and then connect the renters or those who have need with those units. But we've provided thousands of nights of housing and expanded the
Wow.
program to help different categories. For example, battered women, supporting college education for underprivileged folks. We actually helped some Afghan refugees when
No kidding.
when the U.S. got out of Afghanistan.
Huh.
And so
Wow.
it's really cool to look back, and to also kind of look at what it's become, which is a foundational pillar of apartmentless culture. And really a vehicle that helps our multifamily partners give back to the community, and something I'm personally very proud of. So it's been a really cool ride on that one, and I think that's just an example of what you can do, and what companies should be doing in terms of making some space, in their day to day,
Right.
to give back.
That is a fantastic example of dovetailing philanthropic experience into a public, well, almost. Yeah, are you guys publicly traded? I don't want to misspeak. Or
We
into a
we
corporate
we
environment.
we are not. We're still
Still
private.
private. Still private.
Yeah.
Got it. So, a great example of merging the 501(c) into the LLC world, or the S corp world, or Inc. world, and actually doing good. Because we, as landlords and vendors of landlords and stuff, we always get so much. We're the fall guys so much for every seemingly state law or city law coming down, as if we're doing something bad because we provide housing. Yet you just explained entire to the entire world, or 200 people listening to this maybe, that there is actually things we actually try to provide housing. Like that is our
Yeah,
we have two customers: the landlord, the owner of the building, and then the client who lives there, which is the resident. And sometimes
100%.
one side needs help more than the other, and it's not always the same one. It's not always the tenant. It's not always the landlord. And if we can be intermediaries there, and you have a way to do that, and a mind like you're thinking, your intentionality to do so, to even have that idea, is very forward thinking. In my opinion, that's the first I've heard of such things, and very, very
Yeah,
commendable.
well, again, I can't take credit for the idea. That was John Cobb's,
Someone's got to implement.
It was a good one for sure.
I mean, it'd be just still an idea if it wasn't someone wasn't there to execute. Trust me, 1,000 of those a day. Nope. Without you, still would be an idea. I guarantee it. Well, and that brings us, speaking of ideas, we got to watch our time here, to our rapid fire round. Yeah. Matt, this is where I ask you questions. I'm going to sit back and try to be quiet and not laugh.
All right.
Not ask any more questions. I'm just going to ask you a question. Be quiet and you talk as long or as short as you like. And we will wrap, sir. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
All right. Question number 1. Coffee or tea to start your morning?
Tea.
Podcast, audiobook, or music while driving?
Depends on the time of day. Morning, more podcast. Afternoon, more music.
To decompress. Yeah. What's a hobby or activity you can't live without?
Skiing.
Favorite business book ever?
Yeah, I had to think about this one a little bit. I'll go with one that we read as a leadership team here that we actually put into practice, called Smart Brevity by the Axios team. I don't know if you're familiar with them. It's a pretty cool way of like distilling things down into very, very tight concepts and thinking about words as a premium. And what you get out of it is a lot more focus from the readers, and readers actually getting through it. So it's been fun to read that, kind of get on board with it, and then see it start to propagate across our organization and our communications.
And you said Smart Brevity, right?
Yep.
I'll have to put that on my list. Favorite vacation destination?
I'll go with British Virgin Islands.
And last, but certainly not least, if you could have dinner with any historical figure, living, dead, or cartoon, who would it be?
Cartoons, interesting. I'd have to go away and think about that. For whatever reason, when I think of this question, I kind of go to U.S. presidents, and I think there's a number of U.S. presidents that would be fascinating dinners. I think if in a pinch, if I had to pick one top of the pile, I would probably pick Lincoln.
Lincoln, why?
I just think, like thinking about like the change that he led the country through, just from a leadership perspective, and also kind of leading the country through the war, are two like pretty incredible kinds of leadership traits. And I would just love to sit down and pick his brain and understand what were you thinking about at this moment, and like there was this huge challenge. Like, how did you think about overcoming it? I think it would just be pretty fascinating dinner.
That would be, especially given his upbringing and his whole backstory.
Yeah,
he didn't grow up the senator's son at all.
That's right.
Great answer, Matt. Well, Matt, that brings us to the end of our show here. If anyone wants to get a hold of Apartment List to advertise their apartments on or talk about your AI, what's the best way they can get in touch?
Yeah, the best way to get in touch with us is through our website, apartmentlist.com/list with us. We'll take you to a page. You can fill out your contact information, and someone will get right back to you.
All right, Matt. Well, that is all for today. Thank you for your time, man. I know it is very valuable, and appreciate you coming on our humble show.
Thanks a lot, Trevor. It's been a pleasure. Really enjoyed the conversation. Thanks a lot for having me on.
You are very welcome, and best of luck in all things, my friend. Take care.
Likewise. Thanks a lot. Bye.
All right, Matt, how was it?
It was great. Very good.
Any feedback? Good, bad? Anything I can do better?
No, I think I appreciated kind of knowing what was coming. Gave me a chance to think about the responses. It was exactly as advertised, which no surprises, and that's kind of what you want. And in general, just enjoyed kind of jamming with you, getting to meet you, and talking with you a little bit. Just an enjoyable conversation. So a positive experience for me on all fronts. So thank you very much, and also appreciate your partnership and your kind words about Leah Pro. You've gotten to know us now. You've got my email address. So if there's anything on the business or partnership front that I can help out with, or any concerns, please feel free to reach out to me.
And we absolutely will. And if you find yourself in Los Angeles or at AIM next year, I don't know if you go to AIM. Do you generally attend AIM?
Yeah, I will. Let's make sure we hook up. I would enjoy comparing notes on AI and all other things multifamily with you.
Yeah, that's like the one conference we go to, and it just happens to be like in Huntington, so it's easy. But I think that's like the prop tech. Sequoia was there last year.
It is. Yeah, it is. I'll say now the recording's off or off. It is my favorite. Just from a size, right people, location, all the things. So it's always super productive.
Because there's other prop tech. What's another prop tech? Is it Apartmentalized? Is that another kind of AIM-ish?
Apartmentalized is like the big daddy. That's kind of the one that takes over a stadium or a convention center. So it's much bigger. There's like OpTech. There's like Retcon, which is another smaller one that are a little more kind of technology focused.
That was in Sonoma, I think, right? Retcon. Is that the one that was in Sonoma?
No, that one is Social Media Summit, I think, is in Napa.
Yes, that one was good.
I've never been to that one. Retcon's usually in New York City. That one isn't exclusive to multifamily, so there's some good people there, but it's a little more. It's got some commercial stuff in it and other things. OpTech's pretty good.
OpTech?
Just that
multifamily?
Yeah, multifamily, kind of technology focused kind of conference.
I haven't heard of that before. Where's it located?
It moves around. I think I've usually thought of it being in Las Vegas. I think this year it is in Maryland, which is a little bit random. They may have moved it because Apartmentalize is in Las Vegas next year, which maybe I'm not sure. But anyway.
Anytime any show's in Vegas, it's a hard time because I'm good for the first day. Then after that, I'm just because I can't go.
Tell me about it.
After that first night, I'm done.
way too many late nights and early mornings with a lot of distractions. So I agree. I would prefer
tough anyway.
Yeah,
you put Vegas in there, like, oh man.
100%.
All right, man. Thank you so much, my friend. If you find yourself in LA, like I said, let's grab a drink, let's grab a dinner, let's grab a lunch. You tell me what. I'm here. Sounds great, always. Trevor. Thank you for your time, my friend.
Thanks. Bye.
Take care, buddy.